Hello, everybody. Welcome to Wednesday Night Relief. I'm live from California, enjoying the 4th of July in San Diego. I got an awesome guest today, Christopher Henry. How you doing today, buddy?
Excellent, thanks.
Yeah, I'm really pumped about this deal that we signed recently between Namaste and IcMD. You and I have had quite a few conversations, and I just like to, tell the viewers a little bit about yourself. So, how did you come up with this idea?
We just saw really a need and a lack of services in a lot of communities. Really, just opportunities. We were very, very lucky to be in the right places at the right time, to overhear comments, to have worked in Indigenous communities for a long time and see, lack of services and all kinds of other stuff. And I was actually really talking to my partner, Michael Birch. We were discussing what he went through growing up, and he never had a nurse, a doctor. It was fly in, fly out. They, had a serious lack of access to services, right? And we knew that all the money was going into cannabis in Canada right now. That's where the money's going, the technology's going, and everything else. We kind of came up with the idea on how we could reach out better to communities and ran across you guys, which made our day.
Yeah, we met through another LP, and it's kind of, we started talking, and, there's so many synergies between the two companies that it just made sense to move forward, eh?
Well, Canada is not a giant country, not a giant population. It's actually amazing how small the relationships are and how connected everybody is. That was another factor that brought us together when we were in discussions, is us reaching out to another person who happened to know you and getting the communication guidelines or communications going again. So,
And now you've had the opportunity to have me call and text you every single day to get things done, eh?
hey, it's great. I enjoy working with you. I think it's fantastic.
So where do you see this going? The next step? I know we have the AFN coming up in Vancouver. Do you mind just speaking a little bit about that?
Yeah, the AFN is its 39th annual General Assembly. They get together twice a year, every year, to determine self-governance and issues in the First Nation communities. And this year, they actually having their election for their leadership. Could be a very exciting time. Could be the same leadership moving forward, which has been strong, or it could be brand new leadership. Will have new ideas and new directions they want to help take everyone in. But while we're doing that, we're going to be attending the Circle of Trade, which is they're basically trade show for Indigenous and First Nation communities across Canada. The beauty of that is there's like 4,500 people that come through there, access to over 634 bands, 3,100 reserves. It's all the key policy decision makers, the influencers, the people that are going to go back and talk about us and talk about what they saw there. You really can't get that kind of access. And again, because it's the election, it's going to be very well attended. We're very, very excited to go through that. We got a nice priority booth right in the middle of the whole show. So we'll be looking for attention.
Well, the AFN is the 24th of July. When is the Circle of Trade?
Actually, it's 24th, 25th, 26th is the AFN, and the Circle of Trade is all 3 days as well. The
Okay.
election is on the 25th.
So how many different electees are there right now?
That I couldn't tell you. I know the top two right now for sure. I would say is the incumbent Perry Bellegarde, and Sheila North is a heavy challenger for it.
So what do you see as like a big obstacle for moving forward, if any? Would it be shipping to these locations or?
No, I think, when we talk remote and rural, there's always locations that are fly in, fly out only, but they do have, planes coming in every day because that's how they're serviced. They're also serviced by winter roads and other access. So it's not going to completely be a same day service that's going to happen if you're 1,500 kilometers north of a major population center, right? Which, as Sean mentioned today, we'll just have to encourage them to think a little differently or look towards having them order a larger supply, or better is to have them have auto renewals once we can do that. And that way we just know that, okay, their supply should be running out. We can be shipping it back. And the beauty of the program that we do too is, you guys are dedicated to health and other services, and following up on the program, seeing how medical cannabis is actually interacting in the communities and stuff. So I think that getting it up there, you guys would follow up to make sure that we're not oversupplying or undersupplying, and they'll be using a lot of the intelligence capabilities of Namaste to figure out how we ensure that there's an uninterrupted supply. But that won't take long. There's a lot of artificial intelligence and computer thinking that's going on here. We're very, very lucky to be partnered up with a company that can provide that.
And what's interesting is, cannabis is a great medicine for a lot of different diseases and health issues. But with this platform, we could do more than cannabis, can't we? We could get people pretty much everything they need on the medical standpoint.
Pretty much, and that's already a service that some nurse practitioners can do, but I can tell you right now, there is no national program like this. There's nothing that's offering coast to coast. It's blowing people away when we just came out of left field. They didn't understand, and we snuck our way in there. We knew what needed to be done, and we saw a hole that just wasn't being filled. And yeah, that's exactly it. We're extremely excited to get out there and process into the medical cannabis world, to continue with the proof of concept that Namaste has already done by signing up, I think, 6,000 patients as fast as they have. And you know what? We will, once we're there, be able to move into pharmaceuticals, medical devices, all kinds of opportunities for us, as long as we are willing to look at different angles and opportunities. And eventually, there's a lot of regions in Canada that are now talking about returning, power and capabilities to Indigenous communities where they should be, and instead of managing them, giving them self-governance and self-management. So at some point, you're going to see a lot more communities and stuff who are going to get the opportunity to manage their own health services. And when that happens, we hope to be already on their minds and already ready to go to help provide some of those services if that actually occurs.
So IcMD, I love that name. IcMD, it just matches. But what does it stand for? I know what it stands for, but
well, it stands for Indigenous Canadian Medical Dispensaries, and that's basically dispensaries across Canada. So it's always hard. Did the acronym come first or the name, right? And in this case, I was sitting on my couch and trying to come up with something that was extremely catchy, and it was just so perfect. And I thought, IcMD, and my wife said, "What?" I said, IcMD? She says, "Oh my God." And we looked, there was nothing like it. There's nothing like it on the internet. There's nothing like it going on even in the States or anywhere else. We looked, the name was available immediately. I'm like, oh my God.
Jump on it.
And it was, as you say, history from there.
So this idea, when did it first come to light? Like how long ago were you like, okay, this is what I want to do?
We've thought about it for a long time, and I guess with Working Warriors and other stuff, I've been very dedicated and committed to Indigenous communities across Canada for employment and engagement, right? So we're always looking for new stuff. I think Mike and I first talked about the issues he faced growing up years ago, but as I think as we moved out of attempting to get into the recreational space and not wanting to be in a space where we're, and nothing wrong with it, but not moving into a space where, just the same as alcohol, right? And what a lot of people don't understand is there's a lot of dry communities out there. There's a lot of communities that don't allow alcohol, they don't allow drugs, they don't allow intoxicants. And we didn't want to be known as someone, and there's nothing wrong with it again, but we just didn't want to be known as someone pushing that into communities. So we decided that medicinal was the proper way to go. And truth be told, it was a few months ago, really, maybe 4 months ago, when we saw someone that we were negotiating with on this showed us an app, because originally we were talking about, and this is how much we care, and that's why we like Namaste, because as we mentioned today, the service is free to everybody. There's no point in putting healthcare in your hands if you've got to pay for it, right? So we cover those costs right now. And that was the same in the beginning. Mike and I were actually willing to hire nurse practitioners and doctors and fly them to the communities to see them and write the prescriptions and do all of that. And someone's like, "Why would you do that? Here's an app." And we're like, "Bing!" I didn't even know that was possible. And then you know what? We started talking to a couple little people, and we ended up running into one huge person, which was Namaste. And again, history, buddy.
Yeah, we've had some good times throughout the process, and I'm sure we're going to have a lot more as we expand this and really help people across the country.
Right on.
Yeah. So do you have any final things for the viewers to say, or some exciting?
No, I think the biggest thing is there will always be a misconception that we're only there for the Indigenous community. And the truth is, we're there for all Canadians. It says it right on our front page. We can service all Canadians. You don't have to be Indigenous or affiliated with any type of community to be served. And you also don't have to be stuck on, the concept of a band or reserve or anything else. We intend to serve communities that serve Métis, such as the Manitoba Métis Federation in Manitoba, right? We are open to all communities. The best thing I think that should be mentioned and closed off, on is the fact that we're so considerate and passionate towards the needs of our communities that the first thing we did was promise to give 5% back of all of our profits to the community. So 5% of all IcMD profits go back to the communities. We, through our database and through the patient acquisition, find out where each patient comes from. And as we get to a set goal, which we've set at $5,000, once we have $5,000 in profit from that community, we go and we contact their leadership, whether that be the chief and council or any type of other leadership from MMF, for example. Again, sorry, I mentioned it because that's where I'm from, is the Manitoba Métis Federation. So, we'll be able to go to them and ask them how they want to spend the money in the form of scholarships, bursaries, sponsorships towards their hockey teams, or even just community development. Maybe they need a playground or whatever else. But again, much like everything we do, we've set it up so we're never taking power out of any person's hands in any community. We're giving back to them and giving them the power to determine how they do it. We're giving them the personal choice on where to purchase their medical cannabis or other pharmaceutical products. It's about making sure that people have the choice. And the same thing with Namaste. Once Canmart's up and running, that's the ultimate choice. That's the ultimate place that you can go and decide which LP you want to choose from. Another reason why I think it's a great partnership. So we're very excited.
And I'm very excited to be partners with you too, Chris. So this is awesome, and we got a couple great events coming up this month, and then lots more coming up as we move forward. So definitely have you back on the camera here, and I really appreciate you taking the time on your schedule to come on.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Jess.
Awesome, Chris. So thanks everyone for joining. We'll see you next week. We've got a really cool veteran coming on. It's going to be an awesome episode, and I got lots of cool filming done in Cali here. So get ready for that. And if you need, if you're Indigenous or anyone and you need medical service, go to IcMD. Thanks, Chris.